Oberyn Martell being crushed by the mountain, to Ramsay Bolton getting eaten alive by his dogs. These are the most painful deaths in all of Game of Thrones. Number 1, Hodor. Hodor worked as a stable boy for the Starks, but when Bran was paralyzed from his fall, Hodor's main job became carrying Bran everywhere. In the cave beyond the wall, Bran was still learning to control his visions with the help of the Three-Eyed Raven. One night, he entered a vision alone and came face to face with the army of the dead.
He saw me! The Night King! He saw me!
They were getting ready to leave, Bran was still connected to the Three-Eyed Raven, watching Winterfell in the past. He saw his father, uncle, and grandfather preparing to ride out while young Hodor stood nearby. At the present, the army of the dead had arrived at the cave and were already breaking through. Mira screamed for Bran to wake up since they needed Hodor's help, but Bran remained lost inside the vision.
Bran! Bran! Bran, we're all gonna die!
Hodor!
Walk into Hodor now!
As the cave fell into chaos, Mira dragged Bran towards the back of the tunnel. The children of the forest stayed behind, throwing fire to hold the dead off. Hodor lifted Bran's sled and followed Mira. As they reached the tunnel's end, Mira called out,
Hold the door!
Hodor slammed it shut and pressed his full weight against the wood as the wights clawed at the other side. Inside the vision, Bran saw the younger Willis standing in Winterfell's courtyard, suddenly screaming. The two moments collided, past and present merging through Bran's mind, while young Willis cried out at the same words over and over.
Hold the door! Hold the door!
Till it turned into one desperate word.
Hodor! Hodor!
The door began to crack. The wights clawed through the gaps, tearing at Hodor as he pushed back. Mira kept running, dragging Bran's sled into the storm while the sounds behind her slowly faded. Hodor stayed until the door broke apart and gave his life so Bran could live. One word he ever spoke was the reason he died. Number 2, Oberyn Martell. Oberyn Martell, also known as the Red Viper, was the younger brother of the Prince of Dorne and Lyanna Mormont. After Tyrion stood trial for Joffrey's murder, he demanded a trial by combat, and Oberyn Martell stood as his champion. He wanted revenge for his sister, who was raped and murdered by Cersei's champion, Gregor Clegane.
I want to bring those who have wronged me to justice, and I will be your champion.
The next day, as the fighting started, Oberyn fought like no one else. Ellaria and Tyrion watched from the side as the fight started. Oberyn moved fast, dodging every swing and striking back with precision.
You raped her! You murdered her! You killed her children!
He kept taunting Clegane, refusing to let him die without admitting the truth. Then, one perfect move, Oberyn cut his leg, drove his spear through his chest, and sent the mountain crashing to the ground. He didn't finish him. Instead, he circled Clegane again as he demanded a confession while pointing towards Tywin and asking him who gave the order.
Say it. Say her name.
One mistake changed everything. He got that one step too close to the mountain, and that was all it took. He swept Oberyn's legs out from under him. Clegane rolled over and grabbed him by the throat. He punched Oberyn's face. His teeth came out, splattering across the battlefield as Clegane got on top of him with his bare hands, started crushing his head. Oberyn screamed in pain as the mountain confessed.
I killed her children! Then I raped her! Then I smashed her head in like this!
He kept pressing until Oberyn's head popped like a balloon. Ellaria's scream echoed through the arena as Tyrion's fate crumbled with Oberyn's skull. Vengeance ended in the dirt, with his skull shattered beside the man he swore to destroy. Number 3, Ned Stark. Ned Stark was the Lord of Winterfell and the Warden of the North. The death of Jon Arryn, King Robert Baratheon made him the Hand of the King. During his time as the Hand, he investigated the legitimacy of Cersei's children, and when he threatened to reveal the truth, Ned was captured and tried as a traitor. While he was imprisoned, Ned realized the consequences his actions would have for daughters. In order to save them, he decided to bear a false confession. As the crowd gathered in front of the great step of Baelor, Eddard Stark was brought to the platform with his hands bound. Cersei had promised him mercy in exchange for his confession, and Varys had reassured him that if he bent the knee, he would be sent to the wall. Sansa stood nearby, crying, while Arya had climbed the statue of Baelor, trying to reach him. When Ned stepped forwards, the people shouted insults, but he only looked for his daughters.
I am Eddard Stark, Lord of Winterfell, and Hand of the King. I come before you to confess my treason. and protector of the realm.
Ned spoke the words he never believed, hoping the lie would save his family. For a moment, it looked like it worked. Cersei called for mercy, and the crowd went silent. Then Joffrey stood up.
My mother wishes me to let Lord Eddard join the Night's Watch. Sir Ilyn, bring me his head.
The yard erupted in cheers. Ned was forced to his knees by the guards, as Sansa screamed for them to stop. Arya tried to run through the crowd, but Yoren grabbed her and forced her to look away. Blade struck cleanly. The man who lived an honorable life died a dishonorable death. Number 4, Shireen Baratheon. Shireen Baratheon was the only living child of Stannis Baratheon and his only heir. After the fight at Castle Black with the wildlings, he marched south, dragging his wife and daughter into a frozen wasteland as he tried to recapture Winterfell. His army was falling apart, and the men had lost hope. Melisandre had told him there was only one path forward, giving the Lord of Light a sacrifice of the king's blood. First, Stannis refused to listen, but as things got worse, he changed his mind. That night, he visited Shireen in her tent as he spoke about the Dance of Dragons and about choices.
Sometimes a person has to choose, however much he may hate it.
She promised she would help him in any way she could, not realizing what he was about to ask.
Is there any way I can help?
Forgive me.
Later, soldiers came and walked her to the pyre. She didn't understand at first, but when she saw Melisandre, the reality of what was about to happen sank in.
Where's my father? I want to see my father.
It will all be over soon, Princess.
When the fire was lit, Shireen began screaming for her parents.
Mother, no, please! Please help!
Selyse broke down and ran forwards, but the guards held her back. Stannis didn't move. His eyes were fixed on the ground as his daughter's cries echoed through the camp. The flames rose higher until her voice faded. When it was all over, Selyse fell to her knees. The camp stood in silence. Snow began to melt around the pyre. The only thing left was the echo of a child's cries. If you're enjoying the video so far, please subscribe so my family doesn't tie me to a pyre as well. Smell the marshmallows toasting already. Moving on though. Number 5. Robb Stark, Talissa, and Catelyn Stark. After Robb Stark executed Lord Karstark for treason, the Karstark men abandoned him. Left with a small army and unable to cross to the Riverlands, Robb tried to make amends with House Frey. Walder Frey was upset, to put it mildly, with Robb's betrayal when he refused to marry one of his daughters after he offered them safe passage through the twins. To reconcile, Robb offered his uncle, Edmure Tully, to marry one of Walder Frey's daughters in place. The feast of the twins began with laughter, music, and wine. It was supposed to be a moment of alliance through a wedding, and Lord Walder Frey welcomed his guests with courtesy. But behind the smiles, something cruel was waiting. As Edmure and his wife were escorted to the bedding ceremony, the doors of the hall were closed, and Catelyn watched as the band began to play The Rains of Castamere. As the song continued, Walder Frey raised a toast.
Your Grace, I feel I've been remiss, and I owe my new queen a wedding gift.
Catelyn looked at Roose Bolton and saw the armor beneath his clothes and realized what was about to happen. Lothar Frey moved behind Talissa and plunged his dagger into her stomach over and over. Chaos erupted as the crossbows were shot through the hall. The Stark's bannermen fell one by one, pinned by arrows or cut down by Frey men. Outside, their soldiers were butchered as well. Greywind howled from his cage, but he was pierced with bolts until his cries faded. As Robb bent beside Talissa's body, blood soaked his hands. Catelyn crawled across the floor and grabbed Walder Frey's young wife, pressed a knife to her throat, and begged.
Lord Walder! Lord Walder, enough! Let him go, and I swear that we will forget this.
But Lord Walder was not shaken at all. As Robb staggered to his feet, the only thing he could say was, "Mother," before Roose Bolton stepped forward and stabbed him.
Lannisters send their regards.
Catelyn screamed as she slit the girl's throat, her face blank and broken. Black Walder stepped behind her and swept his blade across her neck. The once mighty Stark house was reduced to nothing in a matter of a few moments. Number 6. Viserys Targaryen. Viserys Targaryen was the son of King Aerys and brother of Daenerys Targaryen. With the fall of the Targaryen dynasty in Westeros, Viserys and Daenerys fled to Essos to save themselves from the slaughter after Robert's rebellion. Viserys spent his entire life chasing the Iron Throne and looked for ways to regain his family's honor. When he was 22, he made a deal with Khal Drogo to secure an army. He married off Daenerys in exchange for the support of the Dothraki soldiers to reclaim the throne, against Daenerys' will.
Let his whole tribe fuck you. All 40,000 men and their horses too, if that's what it took.
But when Daenerys began to gain the Dothraki's respect and Drogo didn't keep his part of the deal, Viserys became bitter and angry. In Vaes Dothrak, he stumbled into Khal Drogo's feast drunk and demanded the crown he was promised. Jorah tried to stop him.
Get your hands off me. No one touches the dragon.
Khal Drogo and his blood riders laughed at Viserys, and when he demanded a seat at the feast, Drogo told him his seat was in the back of the room.
You are no king.
Viserys, enraged by Drogo, pulled out his sword, and when Daenerys tried to stop him, he held it towards her belly, threatening to carve out her son.
Tell him I want what was bargained for, or I'm taking you back. He can keep the baby. I'll cut it out and leave it for him.
Drogo agreed to grant him the crown, and in an instant, the Blood Riders seized Viserys, breaking his arms and bringing him to his knees.
No! No! You cannot touch me! I am the dragon! I am the dragon! I want my crown!
Drogo started melting his gold chain. Jorah urged Daenerys to look away. Viserys begged her to make them stop, but she stood there, emotionless.
A crown for a king.
Drogo poured the melted gold over Viserys' head, his face melting. Viserys screamed, crying out in pain before falling limply to the floor. Number 6, Ramsay Bolton. Ramsay Bolton was the bastard son of Roose Bolton and the Warden of the North after the Starks. He was a ruthless and sadistic man who enjoyed endlessly torturing others. After Ramsay Bolton lost the Battle of Winterfell, he retreated with his remaining men. But that wasn't enough. Jon Snow and his men stormed through the castle doors, killing all those who ran back. Ramsay began to fire arrows one by one at Jon. It was no use as he blocked them with his shield and rushed forwards to Ramsay. Jon nearly beat Ramsay to death, but only stopped for Sansa to have her revenge. That night, Ramsay woke up in his kennel, bruised and bound to a chair, while Sansa stood quietly outside.
Hello, Sansa. I'm part of you now.
Your words will disappear. All memory of you will disappear.
Slowly, the dogs locked away in the kennels began to walk out. They came closer and closer to Ramsay as he mocked Sansa.
My hounds will never harm me.
As the dogs came closer and closer, he stayed proud. Ramsay believed they would not hurt him. One of the dogs sniffed his wounded face. Ramsay ordered him to sit. The dog refused to listen, began licking his face. It was no surprise to the audience what was coming. The dog lunged at Ramsay and mauled his face. The rest of the dogs joined in and tore Ramsay's flesh apart as he screamed in pain. Sansa watched as the monster who once hunted and humiliated her was now prey in his own cage. Number 7, Joffrey Baratheon. Joffrey Baratheon was the bastard son of Jaime and Cersei Lannister, who was crowned king of Westeros after Robert Baratheon's death. After dismissing his marriage to Sansa Stark, he agreed to marry Margaery Tyrell. They got married in the Sept of Baelor, and the wedding feast was held in the gardens of the Red Keep. Joffrey sat at his table proudly.
A royal wedding is history. Time has come for all of us to contemplate our history.
He had arranged entertainment for his guests, where a group of dwarves acted out the War of the Five Kings. They mocked the fallen kings and even his uncle Tyrion.
Let the war begin!
As they clashed and fell around, Joffrey laughed while everyone else sat frozen in discomfort. When the show ended, he turned his cruelty towards his uncle, suggesting he should take part in the play.
Uncle, how about you? I'm sure they have a spare costume.
The guests laughed, but Tyrion didn't take the insults lightly. He jokingly mocked Joffrey's bravery at the Battle of Blackwater. Joffrey poured wine over his head and forced Tyrion to be his cupbearer. The crowd started enjoying the humiliation. Margaery tried to save Tyrion by calling out for the pie. When Tyrion tried to leave, Joffrey stopped him.
Uncle! Where are you going? You're my cupbearer, remember?
Tyrion, not trying to cause a scene, stayed and brought him his wine, while Joffrey continued to insult Tyrion. But suddenly Joffrey's face started to change. He started slurring his words.
No, you'll wait here. There's nothing.
He started coughing, and his hands shook as he took another sip of his wine. Then his eyes widened as he clawed at his throat, gasping for breath. Joffrey dropped to his knees, vomiting and shaking. Jaime and Cersei rushed forwards, trying to help him. In his final moments, he raised his trembling hand and pointed straight at Tyrion.
You did this. He poisoned my son. Your king. Take him. Take him!
Without a second thought, Cersei turned all her rage towards the brother she despised her whole life. Guards rushed in and seized Tyrion. The same people who laughed at him moments ago were now looking at him with hate and disgust. Tyrion was dragged away in front of the entire court, put on trial for a crime he did not commit. Number 8. Lyanna Mormont. Lyanna Mormont was the Lady of Bear Island and head of House Mormont, who aided Jon Snow during the Battle of the Bastards and the Long Night. As the Long Night continued, the smallest warrior in the north stood her ground while White Walkers and men fell around her. The gates of Winterfell had shattered open, and through the smoke and chaos, a giant white stormed into the courtyard. It charged through and smacked Lyanna to the side. While most would have stayed down, she got back up and charged straight towards it. The giant grabbed her and slowly began to crush her in its palm. Her ribs cracked as he lifted her into the air, crushing the life from her inch by inch. Then, with her last breath, she drove a dragonglass dagger straight into his eye. The giant collapsed. Lyanna collapsed on the ground with her chest crushed and her lifeless body being overrun by White Walkers. Number 9. Missandei. Missandei was originally a slave from Narth, who served as a language interpreter for Krasnys of Astapor. She was later freed by Daenerys Targaryen and became her close friend and confidant. As Daenerys and her fleet were sailing to King's Landing, they were ambushed by Euron Greyjoy. The ambush drowned many ships, but Varys, Tyrion, and Grey Worm made it out alive while Missandei was captured by Cersei. Cersei wanted Daenerys to surrender in exchange for Missandei's life, but she knew that Daenerys would never give up her throne for Missandei, so Cersei used her to send a message. Tyrion approached Cersei at the gates of King's Landing and tried to convince her to make peace.
I beg you. If not for yourself, then for your child. Doesn't mean your baby has to die.
But Cersei's pride and ego were far too big to admit defeat. She stepped closer to Missandei and began to whisper. Daenerys and Grey Worm watched in horror as Missandei looked down at them one last time with fear in her eyes. Her voice shook as she yelled,
Dracarys!
The Mountain stepped forward with his sword, and at Cersei's order, cut off her head in one blow. Missandei's limp body fell forwards as Grey Worm looked away in pain. Daenerys stood there enraged. Missandei's death marked the point of no return for Daenerys, and the start of a slow descent into madness. Number 10. Lord Varys. Lord Varys was the master of whispers in the small council of King Robert and Joffrey Baratheon, until he fled King's Landing with Tyrion Lannister to join Daenerys Targaryen. At the Battle of Long Night, Daenerys had lost her loyal advisor, Jorah Mormont, and closest friend, Missandei. The grief of their loss and the reality of Jon Snow's true parentage was slowly making Daenerys lose her mind. When Varys learned about Jon Snow's reality, he believed Jon was the rightful heir to the Iron Throne, and began conspiring against his queen by writing letters revealing Jon's true identity. He even spoke with Tyrion and Jon Snow about the mental state of the queen.
They say every time a Targaryen is born, the gods toss a coin, and the world holds its breath.
But his betrayal didn't go unnoticed by Daenerys. Since Tyrion betrayed Varys' plans, guards were sent to his chambers, and he was brought before Daenerys on the shore.
I hope I deserve this. Truly I do. I hope I'm wrong.
And with a cold voice, Daenerys delivered his sentence.
Lord Varys, I, Daenerys of House Targaryen, first of my name, breaker of chains and mother of dragons, sentence you to die.
Drogon emerged from the shadows and almost instantly burned Lord Varys to ashes. His death was swift and quick. The consequences of it lay heavy, as Jon realized Varys was right all along. That wraps up our list of the most painful Game of Thrones deaths. Let us know which death was the most painful for you to watch in the comment section, and make sure to like and subscribe if you want to see more videos on Game of Thrones. Until the next time, folks, bye-bye.